Now that we have enabled monitor mode on our wireless interface, we are able to capture all the Wi-Fi packets sent within our range. Even if the packet is not directed to our computer, even if we're not connected to the target network, and even without knowing the key or the password to the target network. So all we need right now is a program that can capture these packets for us. The program that we're going to use is called AeroDumpNG. It's part of the AirCrack-NG suite, and it's a packet sniffer, so it's basically a program designed to capture packets while you're in monitor mode. So it'll allow us to see all the wireless networks around us and show us detailed information about its MAC address, its channel, its encryption, the clients connected to this network, and so on. So let me show you how we're going to use it. First of all, you need to enable monitor mode on your wireless adapter as shown in the previous lectures. So if I go to my Kali machine and run iwconfig to list all the wireless devices on this computer, you'll see that I have an interface called Mon0, and this interface is in monitor mode. Now, depending on the way that you enabled monitor mode, this can be called LAN 0, it can be called LAN 0 Mon, it doesn't really matter. You just want to make sure you enable monitor mode using one of the methods shown before, and then use the name of the adapter that is in monitor mode when you run AeroDumpNG. Now to run AeroDumpNG, we're just going to type the name of the program, which is AeroDumpNG, followed by the name of my wireless adapter in monitor mode, which is Mon0, as you can see in here. So the command is very simple. We're typing the program name, which is AeroDumpNG, followed by the name of my interface in monitor mode. If I hit enter, you'll see it'll start working, discovering all the wireless networks around me and displaying useful information about them. This program will continue working unless you quit it, and to quit this program, you have to press Ctrl-C from your keyboard. You can actually use Ctrl-C to quit any running program in your terminal. Now that we stopped the program, let's analyze the output so we understand what it's showing us. So first of all, if we look at this column, the ESSID column, it should be a little bit familiar to you. And basically, this shows us the names of the wireless networks around us. So if I just go to my Mac machine and look for wireless networks, you'll see the same names that we see in here displayed under the ESSID. Now all of the other columns show us more information about the network name that you see in here, and this information will actually be very useful to us as we go through the course. The first column, the BSSID, shows us the MAC address of the target network. Next, we have the PWR, so this is the signal strength or the power of the network. Now, the higher the number, the better signal we have. So, for example, the network with the best signal right here is this one. Next, we have the beacons. These are frames sent by the network in order to broadcast its existence. So every network, even if it's set to be hidden, always sends these type of frames, basically broadcasting its existence and telling all the wireless devices around it that I exist, I have this BSSID, I work on this channel, I use this encryption, and my name is this. Next, we have the number of data packets or data frames, and these are the useful packets that we'll talk about later on once we get to the cracking section. This column represents the number of data packets that we collected in the past 10 seconds. Next, we have the channel, which is the channel that the network works on. So for example, this network right here, the test AP, works on channel 6. This network works on channel 1, and so on. Next, we have the maximum speed supported by the network. The encryption is a very important column, and it shows us the encryption used by the network. So we can see that the test AP network is using WPA. We can see we have a network that uses WEP. We can see this network right here is an open network, so it doesn't use encryption. We don't even need a password to connect to it. And we can see we have a WPA2 network right here. Cipher is the cipher used in the network. So we can see here we have CCMP, we have WEP, and we have CCMP again here. Auth is the authentication used on that network. And in here we can see it's PSK, pre-shared key, and MGT for this network. Now don't worry about the INC, the cipher, and the auth. We will talk about breaking into all these networks into WEP, WPA, and WPA2 in the gaining access section. And finally, you can see we have the ESSID section, which shows the name of the network. So this is what you see when you look for networks in your network manager. So that's it for this lecture. I just wanted to give you a quick look on how to discover all the networks around us using AeroDumpNG. Don't worry about AeroDumpNG too much now. We're going to be using it a lot in the next lectures, and you'll get very comfortable with using it as we go through the course. In this lecture, I'd like to talk about Wi-Fi bands. The band of a network defines what frequency it can use to broadcast the signal. This means it also defines the frequency that the clients or the computers need to be able to support and use in order to be able to connect to this network. The two main frequencies used in Wi-Fi networks are 2.4 and 5 GHz. Now, previously, when we used AeroDumpNG, we were only sniffing on the 2.4 GHz frequency. You can see, first of all, my wireless adapter is in monitor mode, Mon0 in here. So if I just do AeroDumpNG Mon0, you'll see that I can get the wireless networks around me. But you might have noticed that you won't actually see all the networks around you when you run AeroDumpNG. I'm going to Control-C this, and if I go here to my normal host machine, and it actually has a built-in wireless adapter, so it's not as strong as my alpha adapter, but if I look for networks, you'll see I actually have much more networks in here. And mainly, I have networks ending here in the name by 5G. Now, the network doesn't have to necessarily end in 5G, but here in Ireland, if a network broadcasts over 5 GHz, the service provider adds 5G to the network name. But we also have other networks broadcasting over 5G that don't end in 5G. But basically, the main point that I want to talk about is I'm not able to see all the networks around me in here in AeroDumpNG. And the reason for this is because AeroDumpNG is only sniffing on 2.4 GHz frequency. So if you do this and you don't see all the networks around you, or if you're sniffing on your own network, but you don't see all the clients in your network, it's possible that your router is broadcasting over two bands, over 2.4 and 5 GHz, and if you're not seeing the router at all, if you're not seeing the network at all, like what's happening here for me, then the router is probably just broadcasting over 5 GHz. Now, this doesn't mean that your wireless adapter is not good. It just literally means that this adapter is not able to see 5 GHz frequency. It's just outside of its limit, outside of its reach. The main problem with 5 GHz is that there are a lot of wireless adapters that can see it and can communicate with it, but not many of them support monitor mode and packet injection. So you might see me and other people recommending wireless adapters like Alpha AWUS 036NHA. This is my most favorite wireless adapter. I use it all the time, even now. But the problem with that adapter is it doesn't pick up 5 GHz frequency. So it doesn't mean that that adapter is bad, it just means that it can't see 5 GHz frequency. Like I said, there aren't many wireless adapters that support 5 GHz, but I have an adapter here. It's Alpha AWUS036ACH, and this adapter supports both 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz frequencies. It's not as good as the Alpha, but it does the job. But in this lecture, I want to show you how to sniff and discover 5 GHz frequency networks, and then so that you can use all the attacks that you've learned in my other lecture and in my previous videos with 5 GHz networks. So, the adapter that I'm using right now supports 5 GHz, but as you can see, I still can't pick up these networks. That's because I need to specifically tell AeroDumpNG that I want you to listen on 5 GHz frequencies and 5 GHz channels. To do that, all we have to do is just do AeroDumpNG, like we always do. And then we're going to use a new argument that we haven't seen before, and this argument is called band. And we're going to tell it that I want you to sniff on band A, and that's the band that supports 5 GHz frequency. And then I'm just going to give it the name of my wireless adapter in monitor mode, which is Mon0. So the command is very simple. It's very similar to what we've used before, and all we have to do is just type in AeroDumpNG followed by the band, and the band that we want to use is A, and we're following that with our wireless interface. So I'm gonna hit enter. And as you can see, as soon as we hit this, I'm actually just gonna do Control-C now because you can see the results. You can see that we got much more networks right now, and we have the 5 GHz network. So we have this network and this network that we weren't able to see. We have the Jameson Whiskey network as well, and basically we're able to capture all the networks that use the 5 GHz frequency. Now what you can also do, let me clear the screen. You can specify multiple bands using the band argument. So again, using the same command, instead of just saying band A, we can do band A, B, G. And what this will do is it'll tell AeroDumpNG to capture data on both 2.4 and 5 GHz frequencies at the same time. So let me show you. So as you can see right here, we're capturing some 2.4 GHz networks, and we're capturing 5 GHz networks as well at the same time, and we'll also be able to discover clients connecting to both bands. The only problem with using AeroDump like this is, first of all, you need a powerful wireless adapter to do this. Also, it'll be slightly slower than only sniffing on one band, because when you're sniffing on two bands, you have a lot of channels that AeroDumpNG has to hop on all of them and discover clients and networks broadcasting on these channels. So, if you want quicker results, then you're better off just specifying the band A when you want to sniff on 5 GHz frequencies, and just not specify the band when sniffing on 2.4. But as you can see, you can just run the command like so with band ABG, and this way you'll be able to capture data sent over 2.4 and 5 GHz frequencies. Also keep in mind, in order to sniff data on 5 GHz frequency, like I said, your wireless adapter needs to be able to support this band. So simply adding the band argument will not work unless your wireless adapter can support and can sniff data on this band. One more thing that I want to note, I've actually said this before, if you run AeroDumpNG against a network and you see some devices missing, then there is a high chance that these devices are connected over 5 GHz. So again, use the band A and then you should be able to see these devices.